I don't get kissed from hand, as it is commonly said when things are very easy. God gave us freedom as a gift. I bring inside me, you bring you, we all receive. Now being free is something else. It's like having a plant that needs to grow through the care we have with it. When you irrigate, when you fertilize, so that all that potential in the seed will develop, and that seed can become the tree that potentially exists inside. The same thing is freedom. Being able to say today I am is you assume that you are in a process of liberating your own freedom, because only those who are offered can only freely try it. This freedom is perhaps what delights me most in my life, because sometimes I see myself a prisoner of such childish feelings, jealousy, comparison. Increasingly, the movement of life leading me to understand from my experience and the experience of seeing those who live by my side, that the true experience of God, it positions us in a context of maturity that delivers us from all weights and ties, that infantilism puts us. And sometimes we don't understand that from low realities. So they are really exercises. It is a spiritual exercise, raising the bridge of the inner castle, and okay, let's know what are these so, and so, huh? That often our love, instead of protecting it, unprotects. Because it infantilizes, it is often marked. Because of a reality in love, it's just like the person who is in love, she can't see reality. A mind in love, a mind that is very involved with another person who has just arrived, is a danger. It is a danger to make wrong decisions. The blind passion. I always like this differentiation, right? Passion is the anteroom of love. We can only say that we love after erasing all the fireworks of passion, because they are dangerous. And the right not to like it? Fabio. We have the right not to like it. Liking is one thing. Loving is another. I can sympathize with you deeply. We have a delicious connection. But I am not obliged to love you because I did not choose to love you. Loving is a choice. And sometimes in our daily lives, we don't know this difference, and you don't even give the right to like someone. If so, and so is almost dying there and needs my help, I go there. I am a Christian, I serve Christ. But I don't need to eat popcorn for the cinema with the person. Of course, you have a limit that you can set. Yes, a affection. Love holds respect. This is what you were saying. I won't hurt you. I won't boycott you. But on the other hand, I don't have an obligation, Tala, to establish this daily bond, to change the phone. And sometimes people confuse a lot. They are a lot. It's an immaturity even in understanding Christianity. Wow. How many times have I suffered from these immaturities? I've been immature so much. So much, oh my God. So much that today is easier to understand when someone is immature to me. Sometimes I meet people absolutely on the fringes of Christian experience. Still based on obligations, suffocated by the obligations that happen to be within Christianity. And sometimes I find some people so free, but so free, they have already found. It seems to me, the deepest of Christianity. You talked about these steps that we need to dive to get to what is most indomitable in us. And Christianity is a movement precisely that goes through this achievement of what is indomitable, and then you live the freedom to be who you are. Discipline is today's word. We are increasingly plunged into a context that clears us from discipline, and this is very sad. It is very sad when we identify that our children are getting strange. They are getting strange to any kind of sacrifice. Because life has to be like this. This maturity. How today's world encourages us out all the time. How has inner life been difficult these days? It is a costly job. My therapist always said, we think that inner life comes for free, comes in the package of life. I was born, so I already have everything internally installed. It's like I have several programs to run, but I need to understand how they work. And really, stop talking or being away from people is not alone. It is not yet silent inside. Sometimes we think we have no dominion over thought. Yes, we have mastery over thinking. Thought needs to be educated at a high level. We need to raise the level of thought with good content on. Oh, my head is full of bullshit. If for intellectual life you need to educate thought through concentration, spiritual life is no different. Right? It's just that sometimes we pray asking God, take it out of my head, and then our Lord sometimes gives us a good movie, a good book, a good song to educate and channel the thought. And we fight in an inner ignorance office, you deal with it. And in fact, we need to live that reality of superior, dominates, and inferior. So I have my instincts there, my emotions, my feelings that are already more aware, my thoughts, my wills, that are the decisions based on my thinking. And here comes the spirit. I can even put here will and thought. There is no one or anything that can enslave a mentality of someone who really wants to be free. It's just like in that movie, The Dream of Freedom, when that man spent so many days in the lonely, stuck there. When he left there, they asked him, he said, it was quiet. I heard music all the time. Then the other said, but how? There is no music there. They are all in my head. Is here. It is in the head that we are released. This is where God happens. When God enters my mindset, when God changes my way of looking at me, my way of looking at the world, He will naturally change my way of looking at those next to me. He will change the way as I look at my restrictions, my losses. And then another destination is not to be sought, to be conquered, to be experienced, except satisfaction. Anyone who has panic syndrome knows how bad it is to feel what we feel, how hard it is. Sometimes we don't have the courage to do the simplest things. You are afraid of the trivial of life, because the right, it is absolutely necessary. The right of life, the ritual, and sometimes panic, depression puts us unwilling to the right of everyday life. You are discouraged to go, to do, to speak. Always, my people, in recent years, the simplest things I needed to do. I thought I wasn't going to handle it. I had a mass. I was approaching the place. I wouldn't handle it. I needed to go to the airport to get a plane. Chaco wouldn't take care of a plane and get to the place. You know when you need to think about each phase of the process? And in every phase of the process, do you think it's too heavy for you? Paulo, who is the driver who took me all these years in the shorter distances. He would take me to the airport, sometimes 2, 3 times a week, and he became a symbolic for me of security, you know. I never said that to him. I got inside the car, right? In recent years, when I was going to go, I had some physical disorder, you know. Or I had a fever, I had diarrhea, I had hunger, eagerness. There was so much. Then I would stop the car. I got in. I arrived at the airport when I needed to get out of the car. And I looked Ava like this. He without an idea of what was going on inside me, right? Usually I have been saying goodbye to him. My friend, I can't wait to see you again. He laughed. And so, when I arrived in Garulhos, the best thing I had was to see Paulo there among the people. So, when it gets a difficult process, when everything gets hot for you, the more you see meaning in everything you do. There is an order being given inside you. Change. Move the game pieces. The way you are playing, you are losing. Then you enter the other and think, wow, better than I do. How many times do I hear that? You can't stop. Your work is very important. The people themselves, for whom I ask for help. How many times did I hear that? Have you ever wondered how many people watch this program? Because yes, I think all the time. Have you ever wondered how many people feed on your work? Yes, I think all the time. And even what is the limit point for my where to justify the good I do? Is there a limit for me to interpret as important? Is there any right in all this? That at some point I can think of myself without thinking about what I am doing for others. It's hard. It is not. It is a difficult reflection. It is a difficult math to make. Because he is a famous person, but he is a priest who has chosen to dedicate himself to others, who chose to dedicate his life to this arduous mission. You have a much harder life than mine, much more. And there I, looking at me, to life I have, identify that on extreme. And then this opportunity that I am having to be present in the people's lives without necessarily having to face my fears. It's been good, you know, but it is also dangerous. It's dangerous because I can't accommodate myself. I can't adapt to my fears. I know you can't adapt to your fears either. When we adapt to our fears, what happens? Courage is bags and leaves because you are adapted to fears. Every time I need to face myself, I have to get courage inside that I don't know where it is, where it exists. So if I get adapted to my fears, it's like I gave the property of my life to fears. So I'm here with people who are not afraid, who have no expectation. Because it warned me in my daily life. When you leave your home, you know that all the time you will be requested. At first, this is so good, but then this is so heavy. It is as if you are all the time in a state of vigilance, because absolutely nothing in you can fail. People are not usually prepared for our flaws. They are expecting that we will correspond to their hopes. So I'm here, surrounded by people who cause me these fears, because there are no expectations in me, with me, for me, see me as I am, love me as I am. I can be adapted. Right? And if suddenly this is so comfortable that I don't want anything else. So that's what I've been thinking, you know? Man to people. I will give you a simple example for you to understand. There are people who need to break with dating who are terrible, disastrous. That person only hurts you, you know it, but you have a bond with them, you have affective need. You can't break that relationship. So you suddenly encourage yourself. You get all clear before you. That person doesn't do me good. I can't marry this person because if in the time of dating it is already like this, imagine at the time of my wedding, then in my time of married. Will become a worse hell than it already is. Then you encourage yourself and are motivated by people next to you to break. This is terrible the day you break. Suffering is cruel within you. It seems that you will never recover again, that you only think of that person. Why? Because although it makes you so bad, you have a sick bond with her, of affective dependence. You know she is bad for you, but you don't know how to live without her. Then you start to take steps. The first week is horrible. You suffer. You cry. You can't hear the music. You can't smell you. You can't see that little piece of I don't know what he forgot at home. That all that is terrible. But suddenly you start taking liberation steps. It's like you are walking towards a land that will only do well. And a month later, that suffering was better. 2 months later, that better suffering. And suddenly you are no longer remembering, of course. There is still a silent bond being disarmed. Because affective dependence. It does not die from night. We need it. It's as if you are choking a cancer cell with the chemotherapy process, you know? That you are removing the life of the cancer cell, which is the cell that kills us. Then let's say 3 months later, You meet again with that person, and you have that famous relapse. There, it is ready. The castle you were building, the floor you had been walking, which had been so difficult, you throw it away, and you come back to Egypt. You come back to slavery. You do the same as Moses' companions wanted to do. Eat onion again, eat the rotten, damaged food again. Then you resume that relationship because it is sick and you have not taken care of the proper distance you should maintain. Because when you have this affective dependence, you have to establish the distance because otherwise you don't heal. You have to stop wanting to know that person's life because otherwise you don't cure. You need to stop running down her Facebook because otherwise you don't heal. You need to stop investigating your life. Where did she go? Where is she? You have to cease all of the points that may make you want to go back to Egypt because otherwise you never will break free. Then 3 months later, you are beautiful and beautiful already, killing the carcinogenic cell. You go, give some kisses in the mouth. Turn that horrible dependence, and hell returns in your life. In your first week, it is good that everything is coming back. In a moment, my daughter, you are in worse hell than you were 3 months ago. And so, when we do not know how to live the discomfort that builds us, we get boycotted all the time. It's like stopping drinking. It's like stopping smoking. You run out of smoking a year and you celebrate because you have stopped throwing that carcinogenic toxin into your body, and suddenly you go there and light a silly cigarette. And that addiction comes back like a monster capable of eating you whole. Ready? All that sacrifice you made of the early days without smoking go to the bag. Why? Why does all that sacrifice go to the bag? Because you are not able to live the discomfort of renouncing. My people, it is impressive how this hand of God helps us like this, making us aware of what we need to break in our lives. These are situations that we need to set limits for them. Because otherwise, we will never be healed. We will be eternally ill in line with the needy, crying and begging a bolt of kindness of the other, a roll of affection for each other. For God's sake, we were not made for it. We were not made to drag affectionately dependent on others. We were made to love. And love has only meaning in our life if it is to build us, if it is to help us cross the discomfort of the desert. Otherwise, it makes no sense. This pseudo-love, this false love that sometimes we say feel about each other, which does not help us in the discomfort of the desert. I need to live my deserts, you need to live yours. And true friends are those who recognize the deserts the other needs to pass and speak. That's right. Let's go through this desert because you needed it. Now, Apolloniana, she wants that happy, ordained life. Remember that character? Apolloniana, where everything was the happy game, right? So as to murder this childish instinct that exists within you, which makes you afraid of life's discomfort. The discomfort of life, when well lived, it only makes us better. Take this little poor mask that you stick to your face for others to be eternally sorry for you. You only waste time in life like this. What silly. God holds us in our hand is for us to be able to cross this desert. It is not to be falling forever and again eating the onions of Egypt because we had pity of us, because we had to pity the other. No, the walk is forward that goes. And a moment comes when Moses arrives before God and speaks, "Now you solve this situation, because I don't know what to do anymore. I've already built a gold reservoir in the halfway. They have already been confused. They are already worshiping even other situations. So not even remembering that the Lord exists. They just don't come back because they're too far away. But they return in another way. Do not return in geography. He knows. They do not return geographically because they were far from Egypt. They would die halfway. But they did not return geographically, but they returned affectionately. Because sometimes we have already surpassed the territory of our physical slavery. I already got out of jail, but the jail didn't leave me. That's how it works. I already stepped towards my freedom, but I didn't achieve my freedom. I did not decree the conquest of my freedom, so I am affectionately attached to my past. Mourning the onions of Egypt, mourning the dating that ended, the situation that was over, the friendship that was betrayed. So when Moses is before the Red Sea and he gets terrified, because now they had nowhere to go. Either they crossed the sea or returned to Egypt, and the Pharaoh's army was coming to capture them. What he does, he has a private meeting with the Lord, a particular urgent hearing. Call there to the secretary of God and speak, for God's sake. Asks him to serve me today, that I can no longer be without that answer. Pharaoh's army is coming, and then he thinks God would give him an easy answer, right? Was going to give a quick solution? No. What God he speaks. Remember, guys, remember, run, right? Enter this water. Look, what a strong phrase. Tell the people to walk. I will not do for you what only you can do. I will give all the graces to make the miracle happen. I will strengthen your courage, but if you do not put your foot in the water, if you do not challenge the sea, it does not open. And that's what the people did. Moses ahead certainly full of fear too, right? Oh, my Father of mercy. When he started entering, putting his feet in the water, God does his part. My people, it doesn't even matter if it happened that way. It matters to us is the fact that God does this daily in our lives. Whenever I encourage myself to overcome the seas that challenge me, I am exercising God's care in my life. Whenever I encourage myself to put my foot in the sea that threatens me, I am fulfilling the promise that he will always be by my side. You do the same thing. Whenever you challenge your seas, whenever you face your discomfort, when you are not afraid of the discomfort that comes to you, when you look at him in front and you speak, now what? What are we going to do from this moment? What do you bring me good? What are you challenging me? I will recruit my best parts, because that alone interests me. If discomfort comes to me, I need to cross this desert to know. To be able to reach this part of the promised land that awaits me. That's how it works. There is no magic formula for life. Although we did not believe God, we would have to live the discomfort that makes us grow. Even those who do not believe in God need to face the discomfort of his history, his existence. Now, of course, when we believe in God, when we credit that there is someone superior to us, enabling us to make the cross, an extra comfort is offered to us. Therefore, based on the experience of this comfort, which I have done, that you have done, in many moments, when this hand of God took care of us, and that we continue the process of walking, hoping. It is confrontation. The word is this. If we do not live the daily confrontations of our deserts, our conflicts, our fears, we will never come. Thanks for your company. Great on use. The blessing of the Almighty God, he who is a Father, firm, and the Holy Spirit. And how do we realize that we don't love each other when we identify our way of living and being? Behaviors that denounce that we no longer take care of our lives, that we made wrong choices, and we made no effort to change, that we went to sleep with the garbage every day, and that we made our hearts a wasteland where all the trash in the world was deposited. This small part, the small part of the commandment is the challenge. It is very easy for you to move the other's life. The easiest thing you have, sometimes when we go to a date, right? You keep listening to the preacher talking, my God. But Comadre Geralda had to be here. People. But that's all Comadre Geralda needed to hear, guys. It is not. Still hits, you see. Wow, you were there. Here comes Comadre Geralda. Benedita and such, right? No, I don't want to know what your neighbor needs my word. No, no. And not even you who are at home. No, I'm not a little worried about what you... Not... I don't want to know how much you pray. I don't want to know how much you're going to Mass. It doesn't care today. Love to God, we will speak at another time. The first night of this camp is neither for the first nor for the second question. Is that a midfielder? This is what can go unnoticed. Because sometimes we think the commandment, it will be well fulfilled if we love God and the other. Yeah, I know. Because the quality of these two loves depends so much that you are cultivated. Oh no, Dad makes me quiet. I'm doing my charity here. Do the charity for you first. The first one in need of charity in this life is you. It's me. It's the moment when we look at ourselves. This is the moment when we gather. It is the moment when we take care of each other. It is the moment when we love each other. Because that is where God is acting in the ability he has to rise to him. To make him happen. And then your neighbor will benefit from the human being who is gradually being worked on by the strength of the love that God manifests in you. And the whole family thanks you after you love yourself. And your friends will thank you because you love yourself. And your neighbors will thank you because you love yourself. And the sky will be partying because you love yourself. Because where there is a realized human being, God will be revealed. Look at a happy human being and you can say, he is among us. Through this creature here. How many times, my people, how many times have you experienced desolation in your heart, and you haven't been able to love anyone? It is amazing how much the unloving, wow. This unloving that destroys us, how much he disables us to look intelligently at God and people. Isn't it? How much your contempt for yourself makes you a person 80? How much your contempt for yourself makes it unpalatable with the other. Go to live with a person who doesn't like to see what it is. Go to live with a person who despises himself all the time for you to see what it is like. Then you talk, I'm already living, priest. So, do we need to convert to this? We need to find out of joy, the satisfaction that there is what we are, even with the defects we have. It's wonderful for us to look at us and think, my God, how many things today do I have? How many wonderful things today can happen in my life? And I don't have the right to neglect this? Is it God who looks at me, to you today? Mira, because God aims. It's a lot of people, but he aims. My conversation is with you. It's you I want. It's you. Ready. It's yourself. Do you know what I want to do in your life? May you, yes. So that then the other two forms of love are natural in you. Otherwise, you will have to make it make too much effort, and it is not necessary. When love hits us, everything gets lighter. Do you work? From the front. Do you get damage? He takes, but you take happy. Because you will experience the fun of giving to each other what you give yourself. If you are able to be merciful to you, will you be able to be merciful to each other too? Sometimes we have a lot of craving for novelty. Careful! Sometimes God will tell us about what has been said for a long time. Sometimes we have a lot of longing for novelty. We always want a new thing, and we forget that sometimes God tells us in the root sea. In what has been anchored for a long time in our lives, in that word we received from the priest who answered ourselves in the first confession there in our childhood, or in that preaching that was initial in our conversion process, we need to return to these origins process. We need to return to these origins. Revolutionize. It is you to resume what was original, initial. This is revolutionary. That's when you are able to recruit everything that is already old within you and allow this old to continue to communicate you. Because sometimes this is even very cruel. Sometimes a person, for example, who has been with me for 10, 15 years, wants to know all the time. I understand that this may be the expectation, but there comes a time when the news is over. What is the word that has already changed our lives? What was the phrase that changed our life? Or that triggered a process of change? This is where God lives. This is where God resides. I've heard so many new things, but what continues to gestate through me daily life is the old one. It's what I heard from Father Leo so many times in my life, when I had the opportunity to live with that man, when I had the opportunity to share my days with him. Father Joãozinho has always been a very friendly person, very close to me. Although I do not live with him today, he remains inside me through all the advice I heard. I always say that. Everything that happened in my life, Father Joãozinho, who helped me open the opportunities. But this man said a lot to me that I can never forget. One of them, which is being a communicating priest, study every day of your life, because communication is something we learn. You learn to talk about television. You learn to talk on the radio. These techniques, you go to a class, you do a course, you have a gift for that, you go and develop. Now, content is what makes the difference in communication. I don't need Father Juano Zize to tell me that again. Told me once. And that becomes for me a reference of novelty. When sometimes I get there in the laziness of my day, lazy to open a book, to resume some of the theology I studied, I always remember. I have a commitment to my people. The people deserve a qualified priest. Just as the priests who now watch me, I have, thank God, an opportunity to communicate to many priests, many pastors who accompany us. Our mission is like this. If we do not invest in our knowledge, the people are at the damage. Because sometimes the opportunity that person has to grow goes through me, passes you. But the old one continues to have its value. I am very happy to be here today in a new, but always old way. All that inside my heart that is properly rooted, essentially. For me, this is the word even though it has managed my days. It's calm. So much, you have no idea of so much that in my life has come out of the axis since last year. Since the end of December, early January, February, March. One thing after another. And serious things. Really serious that have weakened me a lot as a person. I'm still trying to manage some of them that reflected a lot on my health. I'm in the middle, actually start today, a new treatment. I had the fun to find a doctor who looked at me in full, who saw me from very well done laboratory tests, from my dear people from Petropolis, a land that I love so much, and discovered a series of irregularities that are natural from a stressful life. Which we know it is the problem of all of us. I am not just me, I have a stressful life. You also have, I'm sure. But we need to take care of us. We need to make one. We need to look with love and calmly. Sometimes we look at each other too hurry. And I found it very interesting because when the doctor did, he looked at my tests, he looked very calmly. And that was deeply transformative to me. When I had the opportunity to be before him, a very wise man, though very young, with a lot of experience, he said something that marked me a lot. He said, "Father, when we start to have the manifestations outside the body, it is because something internal is already very deficient. So sometimes we don't even manifest." Oh, of course. Sometimes we can get fat, can be out of shape. You can lose your breath when you climb a ladder. Life is teaching us, it shows us. Life is very wise because it has self-protection. The body is a very interesting mechanism. He self-protects himself all the time. So sometimes we get a flu. It's because he's shouting that he needs to rest. Sometimes we have an allergic process. It is because he is shouting that he needs attention. So at that moment, when he looked at my exams, he spoke to me. Our lifestyle can kill us, as it can also save us at the right time. So if the Lord is here today, before me, wanting to help me, you have to change your lifestyle so that you are able to favor your body. To give the response your mission needs the Lord. And I found it very, 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 very pertinent at that moment of my life to hear someone who was taking care of me. I work a lot, but we know that within this context of hard work, which is also your life, I'm sure of that. We need the repository breaks. We need to give it the opportunity, the care that helps us handle the burden we take. I do not intend to stop working. I don't intend to work less. It's my life goal to keep doing everything I do. But on the other hand, it must be my goal of life to feed with quality. Do what my body rests at the right time, so that my body is able to provide me with the mission of my soul, which is in the body that I take my soul. It's not like this. And this time was for me, my people. An opportunity to equalize all this. I looked at my life and realized how I valued some nonsense, how I cultivated some excesses, like some silly things I was giving attention would be perfectly dispensable.